Okay, today's topic would be inheritance. Oh, okay. Yeah, this is week 6, which not week 6. Okay, week 6, we are supposed to discuss about inheritance more deeper. Okay, what is today's outline? Today we will discuss about definition of inheritance, the inheritance declaration. There are several kind of inheritance. The first one would be single inheritance, and the second one would be multi-level inheritance. And the next one we will discuss about access control and the topic about the constructor is not inherited or cannot be inherited. And the last one we will discuss about super keywords. The basic theory of inheritance is, of course, the inheritance is the basic concept in object-oriented programming. This inheritance concept adopts the real-world object where an entity or an object can be derived into something else or can be derived into new entities or new objects. With the concept of inheritance, a class can have a derived class. Uh, as the example below, as you can see, the basic theory of inheritance, a class that have derived classes is called the parent class or base class. Okay. And meanwhile, the derived class itself is often called a subclass or a child class. A subclass can inherit anything belonging to the parent class. So, as you can see, this is the parent class or the superclass. This is the superclass or the parent class, and then this is the subclass. According to this definition, it means that the subclass will have all the attributes and the method of its parent. So it means even though that this uh, class or this derived class have only one method, but the reality is it has all the methods that the parent class. It means that this dog have three methods because the two methods coming from the parent's method. And the point of this slide would be how to define or how to uh, separate between the parent class and the child class. So, and also the symbol used in class diagram, we are using this arrow symbol, which the arrows pointing to the mothers of the superclass classes. So whenever you see this kind of symbol, it means that this class or this dog class was inherited from the animal class. Okay, so everything that is pointing to another class means that it is a subclass or a child class. Then the pointed one would be the mother class or the superclass. So if we have this kind of application where we have two classes and one main class, where the is a superclass and the dog is the subclass, it means that if we have an object uh, we have an object instance of a dog class, okay, so the object can call the method that is coming from the parent class. It not necessarily to create the superclass separately. You can it's only required for you to create one instance of an object, and it can directly use the method that are coming from another class or coming from a superclass. So as you can see, we only create one object, but the object itself can call the method that is coming from the mother class. So uh, uh, this, uh, this is the design that, to give you some image to show you that where do this method coming from. So how to declare inheritance in Java? You can declare the inheritance by adding the words extend after the class name declaration and following by the name of its parent classes. The extend keyword tells the Java compiler that we want to extend the class. So it is very important keyword if you wanted to create an inheritance declaration. So I will repeat again. You use the extend keyword after the class name declaration and then following by the parent's class. This is how to declare public class B extends A. It means that class B is an inheritance of class A. So class B will be the child class and the class A will be the parent class. It means that the class B is the extension of the class A. It means that everything that the class A have will be derived or will be given into the class B. And when should we use the inheritance? When should we use? We only need to apply the inheritance concept when we find out that this class can be extended from another class, or this class can be extended into another class. So let's say we have this class. As you can see, this is a first one is the employee class, and the other one would be the manager class. As we can see that there are some similarity from these two classes, where the two classes share two attributes that have a similar meaning. The employee have the name and also the manager have the name. The employee have salary and the manager have salary. But the manager have a department, unlike the employee that don't have the attribute, department attribute. So we can say that we can combine or we can create this class as a unity, as a group of a hierarchy classes. So we can say that we can derive the manager class from the employee class. So it will not be necessarily for the manager class to define the, the name attribute and the name and the salary attribute anymore. So after we create the inheritance of the classes, and then the manager class will have only one attribute by itself. From the two classes above, we can see that the manager class has member data that is identical already. And what happened there? The manager class was an extension of the manager class with the additional of the department. So we can derive the manager class from the employee class. So it means that the manager class will be the child of an employee class. This is how you define the inheritance. So by adding this, by simplification, by this kind of simplification, we, we can save a lot of memories, and we also can be more focused on this uh, differentiation. So yes, the only difference between the manager and the employee is this department attribute. So, firstly, what is single inheritance? The inheritance concept in Java allows a single inheritance. The single inheritance concept only allows a subclass to have only one parent subclass. It means that the B class cannot become a parent of another class when we deal with the uh, single inheritance concept. Okay, so in in this concept, we cannot derive anything more from the class B. So the class B will always become a child of a class. And also class A will always become a parent of a class. So this is the concept of a single inheritance, which is uh, this kind of inheritance was supported by C++ previously, but currently most of the application or most of the tools already can support multi-inheritance concept. But this is the limitation from the previous programming tools. So yes, this is just for your knowledge. And the second inheritance would be the multi-level inheritance, where most of the application tools support this kind of inheritance. Luckily, the Java already support this kind of inheritance. So it means that will allow a class to be derived into another class like this one. So class A is a parent of a class B. Class B also a parent of a class G. Class C. It means that class B have two different roles, where the class B is a child of a class A, is also a parent of a class C. This is the meaning of the multi-level inheritance. As you can see, with this kind of inheritance, it means that class C will, sorry, with this kind of inheritance, it means that the class C will have all the attribute and method belonging to its parent and also belonging to its ancestor. So by having this kind of inheritance concept, it is not necessarily for C to have a direct connection with the class E. It is it only needs to connect with the class B itself. It don't necessarily connect to the class A directly. So by having this kind of inheritance, it will be more advantage than the single inheritance concept, where we need the class C to have all the attribute and all the methods that belong to the parent and the ancestor. And the next one would be the access control. So yes, as I already mentioned, that ideally, when you inherit some classes, it means that all the class that inherited by the class will give all the attribute and the method to the child class. But it is not necessarily for you to give all the attribute or the method. Like in the real world situation, maybe a parent only shares some of the attribute or only shares some of the method. So if you already know that the access control in Java, there are three main, uh, four main access control in Java. First one is the private, and the second one is the protected, and the third one is the package, and the fourth one would be the public. So by setting this kind of access modifier, then you can set where set uh, the attribute or the method access modifier, which one you can share and which one that you cannot you don't want to share. giving them a clear access modifier. But based on my experience, uh, I never use this kind of situation. Situation. I used to share all the parents' attribute and method into the uh, child child classes. But this is just an example. So if you wanted to protect the attribute or the method of the parent classes, it is allowed in Java. All you can do is only modify the attribute that you wanted to be set into private. So yes, this is the kind of modifier. If you wanted to make this attribute or method exclusive, only belong to its classes. So, so if you wanted to make the attribute and the classes only exclusive only for the members of the class, so you need to change the access level into the protected type of level. It means that it only can be accessed by the class itself and the class derived from it. So if you're giving this attribute, it means that only this class can access the attribute. Not even the derived class cannot access this. So when you change or when you have this kind of attribute, then the Java compiler will inform you that there are attributes that have a private access. So it means that it cannot be derived or it cannot be accessed by the employee employee class. So how not how to yes. When we found this situation, it means that we have to define a specific kind of constructor uh, where employee class don't have to access the attribute or the method that have a private attribute or a private access modifier. So it is necessarily for you to create a specific kind of constructor, so it will be avoiding creating this kind of errors. And the next phrase would be the super keyword. This is very important for you to know when you are dealing with the inheritance concept. The super keyword is used to refer a member of the parent class. As the keyword itself, this is used to refer the member of the class. So there are several format or several kind to write the super keyword. So the first keyword would be the super and the data member. It means that this kind of uh, programming code will be referring into the parents of attribute, into the parent attributes. Okay, and if you have this kind of line of code, so it means that you will be pointing into the function which the member of the parent class. And when you find out this kind of keyword, that it will be, it means that you are pointing to the constructor of the parent class. So please keep this comment in mind. So when you want to access the attribute, then you need to define this keyword super dot attribute name. If you want to access the function, then you have to use the super dot method name. And if you wanted to access the constructor of the parent class, then we need to use the super class, not the parent's class name. Okay. unlike the uh, uh, previous lessons, you need to call the class name when you wanted to create the object from the class. But in this case, if you want if you have an inherited class, inheritance class, you cannot call the mother's name, the mother's class name, because you have to use the super keyword. So this is the differentiation when you are using the inheritance concept. This is the example. Let's say you have the parent class, and then you are extending a child from a parent class. As you can see, each of the object, or sorry, each of the class have a similar attribute. In this example, the attribute would be the X attribute. Okay, and also in the method we are using the similar parameter name, which is also X. Okay, so we have a parents attribute called X, we also have a child attribute called X, and we also use the parameter name called X. So we try to differentiation the use of the keyword. Okay, as you can see, uh, the first line we are calling the X only name, and for the second line of code, we are calling the X by adding the keyword this. Okay. And for the third line of code, we are calling the X by using the super keyword. So when we are creating a main class, when we try to execute the info method like this one, what do you think would be the print out result of this method? Anyone, anyone know?
20, 10, and 5.
20, 10, and 5. Anyone
Yeah.
else? Is it correct? I don't know whether it's correct or not. Anyone else have the others opinion or other answers than Nabila?
Same answer, sir.
Are you sure? It's the same answer. Anyone who's thinking that having the same answer, please raise your hand. Only 3%, 4% having the same answers. 5%. And what about the others? Oh, it's reducing into 3%. So what would be the other answer? Anyone who's not raising their hand have, must have the different answers than the other. Okay. For the one who's not raising their hand, what would be the other answers? Are you? Do you have any other answers? Melita, Ahmad, Alice, Bagras, Meliska, Omar, Rajendra, Rivaldo, Wahyu. Do you have any other opinion? Or the one who's not raising their hand? You guys still there?
Yes.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's the same answer, like 20, and then 10, and then 5.
So the one that was not raising their hand would be having the similar answer.
Oh yeah, sorry. I missed the line. Sorry. No, wait, let me raise. Okay, here we go.
Okay. Still waiting for the other answers or the other opinion, or still waiting for the other to be coming back and listening to the material. If we are missing, hello planet Earth to the moon. Okay, probably they were all sleeping. Okay, let's continue and let's move on. Thank you very much for your activity and for your participant for you to participate to answers or to give your opinion. Okay, the answer would be yes, it is correct. The correct answer. The answer would be 20. This would be 20, and this is would be 10, and this is would be 5. 20. Why this is 20? Because it will be taking the value of the parameter of x, where the value of this was being sent by this comment. So the value of the parameter is 20, and then it will be printing out from this comment. And from for the second line, it will be uh, the value will be 10 because it has this keyword this, where this keyword means that it will be accessing its own attribute, where it will be referring into this line of code. And as I already explained, that the super keyword will be it's mean that it will accessing its parent uh, attribute or method, and this method is the attribute. So yes, uh, it will be pointing into this uh, the parents value or the parents attribute values. So yes, thank you very much for your participation. Yes, this is the answers. So the conclusion would be when we define the when we define an attribute without giving any information before it, then it means that it will be referring into the variable or the parameter of a function or a class. But when we use this keyword before the variable name, that and then it will be giving a stress out for this statement that we will going to access the attribute of the class, the attribute or the method of the class. And when we use the super keyword, then it means that we will going to use or we will going to access the attribute or the method of a parent class. So please keep this clear. Please keep all of this clear definition into your mind. And for the next chapter, uh, I will explain that the constructor cannot be inherited. So it means that even though that the parent class can inherit the attribute and the method, but not the constructor. So uh, the constructor of the class, the constructor of a parent class cannot be inherited into their subclasses. Consequently, whenever we create a subclass, then we must call the parent class constructor inside the subclass constructor. So this is the basic rule when you are inheriting a class from another class. So it is necessarily for you to call the parent constructor inside the child constructor, even though that uh, if you don't create a child constructor, then the Java will be created by itself. So, like like the previous explanation, if you it is not mandatory for you to define a constructor of a class, but the Java will create it uh, will create a default constructor whenever you are not creating a constructor of a class. So it is okay for you not to create a constructor because the Java will create it for you automatically. But if you have to create a constructor of a class, especially when we create a constructor from an inherited class, that this rule must be applied into that constructor. So when you have an inherited class and you wanted to create a constructor of its class, then you have to call the parent class first inside the constructor and then continue with the other line of code inside the constructor. Before a subclass runs its own constructor, the subclass will run the superclass constructor first. This is the basic rule of the Java compiler. So this is happened because the implicity of the constructor class, where a superclass is added, which aim to call the superclass constructor by the compiler. So when you create this kind of classes, it is okay because the Java compiler will create the default class for you. So it is not mandatory for you to create a constructor as I already explained. So even though that you are not creating the constructor, but the Java will creating the constructor default. It is the same as like you are creating this kind of situation. So whenever you create this one or this one, it is the same programming code. The same result will occur from these uh, two different class uh, writing code. So if in this example you don't create the constructor, and for this example you are creating the class constructor. So this is uh, the rule that you need to apply whenever you create the constructor of the class. You have to make sure that you are calling the parent superclass constructor first before you apply another line of code. So this is the example of incorrect and a uh, correct way to write the programming code. Why this is incorrect? Because you are positioning the parent constructor after the attribute definition. So if you wanted to define the attribute or define the variable, so it is necessary for you to write it after you call or after you create the constructor, the parent's constructor method. Okay, so this is incorrect. So and this is correct. The differentiation is the position of this line of code. So it's been a while since our last exercise of the theoretical part. So yes, from this